Steve Kilbey from the church. Welcome back to Australian Musician. Whereabouts in the world are you today?
I'm in Austin, Texas. I've just been here 6, 7 weeks making an album, and the whole band were here, and then they all went home, and I stayed on and battered on my own.
Okay,
Me and an engineer.
yeah. Steve Kilbey solo album?
No, the church.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the church. Yes, the church album, and we have a patron who well, we have a few patrons, and this patron wanted us to make an album. He wanted to make it in Austin, where he lives, and I thought that was fair enough. And so we decamped to Austin, really beautiful studio called Arlen Studios, and yeah,
Wow.
we made an album.
God, you've been so prolific the last couple of years with the church and Martin Kennedy. Do you ever switch off?
I don't switch off. I keep going all the time. It's wearing me out too, but I can't stop. And I look at myself, I go in the studio and I get in there and I smoke some dope and I drink some coffee. And then I'm just like from say 11 o'clock till 9 o'clock, I'm on and my mind's just going, my legs are shaking and I'm tapping, I'm hearing music, I'm writing stuff down. It's sort of, it's very intense. And I sort of like, I get home and I'm exhausted because I have to keep dredging all of these songs out of myself.
Yeah.
They can't just be any old thing. So I don't know, I just dredged, or the band just dredged 20 pieces of music and I just dredged 20 lyrics and melodies out of myself. So I'm feeling a bit exhausted, but tomorrow I fly to Philadelphia and we start rehearsing for this tour, and then we're touring around America for a month. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Why we're talking today is because you're playing the Already Yesterday tour in November, December in Australia,
Yeah.
celebrating the first 4 albums. Whose idea was that?
Not mine. Look, look, everybody knows I tell the truth.
Yeah.
Not my idea.
Mm.
However, I look, this is the story. Universal Music, who have now acquired, there's only Universal and Sony, isn't there? Are they the only ones left? And BMG. Anyway, Universal Music or Universal, I don't even know who. Universal have acquired the rights or have reacquired or always were the people behind those albums, or because they were EMI, now it's Universal. I don't really know. Universal are re-releasing these albums on vinyl and presumably CD, so you can get them. And they suggested, hey, wouldn't it be great if you would do a tour and sort of feature these first 4 albums? And I thought, well, that does make sense. So that's the truth of it. It's not like I sort of went, gee, I really want to go out and play the first 4 church albums. It's more like it worked out. And for our annual tour of Australia, it sort of gives us a little bit of a focus or something. But not what I really want to do artistically, but it certainly makes sense. I guess have a look at them and think about them again, those records, and play some. We're not playing all of them. Can't play all of them, but we're going to play some of it. We're going to play some new stuff too. It's not just nostalgia.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like a good business thing to do. Sometimes, yeah, you've got to acquiesce to a good idea. I'd be silly to go, no, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and do something else. So yes, that's where it all came from. Universal Music.
So how do you make a tour like that fun for yourself?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. I think there must be something wrong with someone who isn't having fun anyway. Like, like you'd have to really ask yourself. I will have fun playing those songs. I will enjoy. They're my songs. I enjoy playing them. I don't enjoy playing them as much as the new ones. I do enjoy playing new ones more. There's just for the sheer human fact that there's a sort of a novelty value, and I think they're sort of better. But I will enjoy them. I'm playing them with some of the guys in this new band, which is already 5 years old, by the way. This new band, 5 years old. They will enjoy playing these songs because some of them haven't played some of these songs before. So with the ones that we're going to be choosing to play, I think it will be. I will get my pleasure vicariously through the audience, and although I might not be bursting in my britches to play some of this old stuff, hopefully I'm not so off in my own cloud that I can't see people really enjoying it, and therefore I'll be happy about that. I think that's the way it will work.
Yeah. Going back to the first couple of albums, they were produced by Bob Clearmountain.
Yeah.
What did he bring to the records, and what's his production style?
Like, okay, the first album he mixed, and this was in the days when mixers, he was one of the first guys who became famous as a mixer. Before that, you go back to 1970s or 1960s, who mixed those albums? Usually the producer or an engineer. There wasn't this big emphasis. So he was one of the very first guys who became famous as a mixer. The first album didn't sound that good until it was sent to him and he mixed it. When he came to Australia and we made the second album, he was absolutely brilliant, like the most brilliant engineer, and I just learned a lot from him, watching him, talking with him. Him and I mean, it does also say co-produced by the church. You know, he and I worked together on a lot of that. I mean, not sonically, I had nothing to do with it, but the sort of the way the instruments were combined and stuff, and we worked a lot. We did a lot together, and he was just a brilliant guy, and he wasn't all puffed up with his own self-importance and didn't have a bad attitude either, like people I subsequently met in America who were producers and stuff, who these were big shots. But Bob was a really quiet, modest guy, and he just knew sound inside out. And it was a real pleasure to be involved with him and work with him. He's still out there going. He's still making records.
Yeah. So for Seance, you brought in John B. How different an experience was that album?
We didn't bring in John B. John B. was the house engineer at EMI.
Right. Yeah.
So we got him. He was good. He wasn't Bob. But the problem with Seance is EMI farmed it out to Nick Launay. I don't want to start all this again, but Nick Launay did one thing. He was another one. He was this guy, suddenly popped up. He had his own sound. Up until then, I think producers didn't so much have a sound. They kind of turned up and did whatever was necessary. The Nick Launay came to Australia. He was 19. He was being managed by his girlfriend, who was like 20 years older than him or something. He was like a kid. He was like a wunderkind. He was an enfant terrible. And he turned up and he had this way of doing things. And the church didn't want that. And he was like, I don't care what you want. The models, I just did it to the models. I just did it to Midnight Oil. Now I'm going to do it to you. You're going to get this sort of modern sound, which we didn't want because we still are. We're like a classic rock band. We like our drums to sound like drums. We like the bass to sound like bass. We didn't want all that stuff. Anyway, nonetheless, he applied it, and Seance did not sound the way it was supposed to sound. Seance was supposed to sound the way Bob Clearmountain might have mixed it. But anyway, that's a long time ago, and Nick Launay and I have since had many conversations about this, and it's just the way things were. I don't hold it against him at all. And you know, I've learned to relax and enjoy Seance as it is. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
don't think about, you know, may surprise you. I don't think a lot about stuff that happened in 1983, the music we made and what people said and all of this. It's sort of, it just seems so long ago. But yeah, anyway, that's sort of what happened.
yeah, Heyday is the fourth album you're celebrating. How different a band were you by then?
How what?
How different a band were you recording
Well,
Heyday?
well, this is what happened. This is what happened with Heyday. Um, I really liked this Simple Minds album, New Gold Dream, which he had produced. I mean, I did like the music and the words and everything, but I really liked this sort of spaciousness it had that I hadn't noticed on a record before. And I thought this guy would be really good. I also noted and noticed that Simple Minds were composing the music all together. Um, you know, sort of like everybody was writing the songs. And I thought long and hard about that. And we had a few experimental songs where the band had written the music together, and then I came along and put the words on top. So I decided that Heyday would be mainly like that, and it sort of was. And we all wrote the music together, and I think that was a really good strategy. And we, it's hard to believe, it's hard to remember this, hard to believe it, but in 1983, 1984, people were saying we were washed up. And a lot of people, Stuart Coop and others, going, "That's it. So their good days behind them. It's all finished." Heyday was kind of reinvented us in the minds of the Australian public, if not everywhere. Every America and England really like Heyday as well. It was like a by us all writing together, we broke away from the sort of formulaic thing that I was getting happening with the band, and I think it was definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah. As you said, it won't be just those four albums you're playing. I gather you'll be playing some stuff from the Hypnogogue. Have any of those songs embedded themselves permanently into the set list?
They seem to have. I don't look. They wouldn't if people didn't like them. I like you know I probably don't have the best attitude towards giving people what they want, but I'm certainly not so far gone that I would play songs that they actually didn't want to hear every night. It's just there are more and more songs from the Hypnagogue in the set because people like them, and we just add another one, and people like that as well. So what I'm thinking in Australia is we'll play the opening gambit will be four. Man, that's a lot of songs. If we do four songs from each of the four albums, there's 16 songs right there. So I guess it'll be like three songs from each album, and then I have an intermission, come back, and then play some newish stuff, some Hypnagogue and maybe some mid-period stuff. Maybe, you know, the obligatory numbers off Starfish, and it's sort of getting tight, you know. We release more and more albums, but there's still only the same amount of time to play them. So the more albums we release, the harder it gets to know what to play. And now our hand has been forced by this other idea. So it'll be a mixture. It'll definitely be a mixture. I think people will like it. I'm hoping they will.
What about the Perfumed Guitars? Has anything from that album made it to the stage?
Eros Zeta and the Perfumed Guitars. Yes, yes, some stuff from that is already seeping into the set. So, and now I've really become enamored by some of the songs we've just written in Austin, and imagining, wow, imagine if we walked on and played that. So, you never know. It'll be a judicious mix of old and new. You can be assured.
Yeah. What do you enjoy most, the writing, recording, or performing?
When you have a really good night on stage, nothing can touch that. I think that's the really the end result. There's a lot of pleasure in writing a great song, and recording isn't a lot of fun, really. It should be, but standing in a vocal booth all day, singing and going over stuff, and it's hard work. It's not hard work like digging a hole. That's hard work, like fixing cars or delivering Uber Eats. That's sort of hard work. Singing in a studio and playing bass isn't really hard work, but it can be very draining and exacting, and you're concentrating and not always a lot of payoff. It's sort of such a gradual process. But when you have a really good night on stage, that is the best thing. That you can't. It's hard to even describe how incredible that can be. Sometimes you feel like you've dented reality. When you've really nailed it and the audience are right there and you've got this thing going on. It's an extraordinary feeling, comparable to, I imagine, riding a big wave on a surfboard or taking drugs or having sex or stuff. It's definitely up there as a sort of a peak experience.
Is it hard to come down from that at night?
It is. It is, and that's where not so much anymore. Now I'm just sort of knackered by singing for 3 hours. That's normally a come down. Back in the other days, it was sometimes I think a lot of musicians struggle with that. Go on stage, everybody loves you, and then suddenly you're back in a hotel room and nobody loves you anymore. You're just a guy and sitting in a room, and then what do you do with all that pent up stuff? Well, the answers to that question can be very destructive. So yeah, it's hard to come down. I like in America, it's a different thing. In America, we play like almost 3 hours. Not on this tour we're doing now, because we're playing with the Afghan Whigs, so we'll only be like 1.5 hours. It's all ends, and I kind of go and get on the bus. I've had my 1 or 2 drinks. I've smoked some dope. I go and sit up the back of the bus and listen to the music I like and go to sleep. And when I wake up, I'm in the next place. And I like the feeling of the bus shuddering down the highway. We have a little bit of sometimes we sit on the bus and have a bit of a post-mortem and have another drink. And yeah, it's not a bad old life, really, I suppose.
Yeah. I was going to ask you if you still find time to be a music fan and listen to other people's music. And if so, what have you been getting into lately?
Not as much as I would like. Not as much as I would like. However, I've been going out a lot in Austin, and some cafes, we go to different cafes and restaurants, and all night long, I'm saying to my friend, Shazam that. And he's going, yeah, it's this. And I'm going, wow. There really is some good music out there. I couldn't say I know a lot about it, but some of the cafes and restaurants in Austin, which is a kind of a groovy town, they've got amazing playlists, and you sit there having dinner and you learn a lot. Wow, who's this? Shazam. There you go. Wow, I've never even heard of that. So I know there is a lot of good music being out there. I don't have a lot of time. This was my thing, was tracking it down, reading all the trade newspapers and reading all the magazines and trying to find out what was hip and what was cool. And I just don't have time to do that because I'm so busy making my own stuff. But I'm still a huge fan of music. I listen to a lot of ambient music. Yeah, every now and then. I have to say my favorite album from last year was Sigur Rós, their album Otta, ATTA. I certainly would listen to that album tons. That was my go-to record when I'd finish playing a gig. I'd get on the bus and put Otta on, and Atta. In Swedish, it would be pronounced Otta. I don't know how they pronounce it. I go and listen to that and fall asleep, smoke another joint, listen to Sigur Rós, fall asleep and wake up in the next place. It's not a bad life.
Yeah. For someone who finds the studio a bit of a task sometimes, you spend a lot of time there. You've just finished the trilogy with Martin Kennedy. Do you hope to play that stuff live at some point?
Um, Last time Martin and I played live, I think he had a bad experience. Like he figured out it was all a lot of organization, getting hotel rooms, getting flights and booking this and roadies and rehearsals. And I think he vowed never to do it again. But I was talking to him just recently, and he said he wouldn't mind dipping his toe in the live water below again. So maybe we will. Um, it'd be nice to do it properly.
Yeah.
I've suggested we do it. We get Ash and Ayla involved, and I've just realised you're sitting inside in the middle of winter with a furry jacket on,
Yeah,
aren't you?
it's Melbourne and it's probably 10 degrees outside, I think.
Wow. Yeah, look at you. I'm sitting in Austin, Texas. It's like 95 Fahrenheit here every day, and yeah, it's like unbelievable this planet. And it's so funny to see a guy in Melbourne sitting in his office with his furry jacket on, because there's no way you can get warm enough just to hang around in a t-shirt. I
Yeah.
understand that, because Australians pretend that winter doesn't happen. I live in a flat in Coogee, and there's this much gap under the door.
Yeah.
So no matter how hard your heater's pumping, and it is, there's just this freezing cold, gritty draft blowing under all the doors and rattling all the windows, and we just pretend June, July, and August don't happen, and resume life back in September. Yeah,
Yeah, the heating's taking a while to kick in here this morning.
is it?
Yeah.
I bet it is. Yeah. All right.
So, Steve, when the day comes to hang up the boots on the church, how would you like the band to be remembered?
I don't think I'm going to hang up the boots. I think I will die in the saddle. I really do. There, and I mean, well, I want us to be remembered by the fact that um, we never pat we well occasionally there's few things slipped out, but mostly we had a high standard for ourselves, and we didn't we didn't change. We didn't, as the years went past, we stuck to our guns. We didn't jump on bloody hip hop and rap and house and all this others. You know, the church were the church. The church started the church, and we weren't swayed by the zeitgeist. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And we, you know, if you buy any church album, there's none of them that are absolutely hopeless. We sort of, I think we delivered 80% of the time. We delivered really good songs, and I don't know. We cared about our fans, and within the cartoon environment of rock and roll, um, we tried hard to deliver. I try hard to deliver lyrics that you know, if you're an intelligent person, you can still enjoy my lyrics. I don't you don't have to be a, I don't know. Our fans are very, there's a lot of sort of tertiary and sort of people who, you know, they want more from their music than, you know, they want more than that. I've spent my life kind of giving it to them as much as I can, making thoughtful, literate, intelligent music. Hasn't always been the fashion. We've gone in and out of fashion. You know, as I said, 1982 and 83, they said it was all over for us. And that, you know, when grunge came along, I remember people at the record company in America saying, "You're finished. Grunge has come along. People don't want that thing you're doing anymore." But, you know, we kept going, and grunge has come and gone, and all the rest, they all come and go. And if you stick to your principles, you don't have to bend in the tree to every new breeze that comes along. And there you go, I guess.
Yeah. All right, Steve, great to chat. We look forward to seeing you
You
down
too, Mr. Phillips.
November,
I guess I'll
December.
see you soon.
Okay. All the best.
Stay warm. Stay warm.
I'll try. See ya.
Bye, mate.